Julia, thank you so much for the presentation and for opening up the session. Maybe it's my favorite kind of events that we do in Really, because it's not only me who can ask questions of our speaker, of our guest, but at the same time, you guys, if you have anything to discuss with Dr. Anand, which is a very rare and difficult opportunity to contact him and speak with him, unless your company is privileged to be in his list of clients. But yeah, here on such events, you have such opportunity. Dr. Anand, thank you so much for finding time and joining us today. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Anand.
Thank you, Dennis.
The topic of our today's discussion is mindful selling. But before we jump there, I want to hear your opinion about 2024 as a year in the real estate market. We are in January. What do you think agents should expect out of it?
Money. Money. There's a lot of it for 2024 as well. Okay, without trying to make the answer too long, because mindful selling is what we're here. Okay, if you look at all the trends, and if you also look at the reports that have come out, they're still projecting increases for this year. In fact, a couple of companies have gone as far as saying a 15% increase this year. Some of them are conservative, 5 to 7%. The reality on the ground is I think we are definitely going to get easily another year with between about 14 to 17%, and I can justify why, I can tell you. However, I think what you should be able to do, each of you as brokers, is back yourself up with the actual trends in the market, as well as the sources of where this information comes from. From my experience working with brokers in Dubai, 80% of the brokers do not even understand their own market. They don't have the access to the right kind of information. Let's try a small simple test. What was the cash to mortgage ratio on transactions yesterday in Dubai? I rest my case. Okay? How much real estate was actually transacted yesterday? Close. Good. Okay. What was the average unit value registered yesterday in the land department? There you have it. Now, if I'm coming to sit with you and you expect me to put my 5 million on the table, but you yourself have no clue how your own market operated yesterday. So this has been the biggest challenge in the Dubai market. We could have actually closed much more than the 412 billion last year if people actually understood their own market. Get to know your markets first for yourself, not for your client. When you wake up every morning, you've got to believe you are in a very healthy space with the market. We are the top performing market in the world today in terms of yield. We are number 3 in terms of popularity as a real estate investment destination. You're living in the number 3 city in the world, the Economist survey that came out in August last year. How is it possible when you're in one of the top 3 cities in the world, the top performing market in the world, you have people walking up to you and you cannot convince them that this is the time to invest? Prices jumped last year, average across the market 17.86%. Knight Frank had predicted a 13.5% increase, but we did about 40% above the prediction of Knight Frank. If you look in the last 3 years alone, prices have jumped 33%. That's the average price. Rents have gone up 42%. We are in a market that is in that upward boom. And everything that is going to be coming up this year is going to take it further upwards. People make huge mistakes when interpreting how the market is operating because they look at what happened in 2014. Property Monitor just put it out, right? It was the CBRE, they're all putting it out. We crossed that index of 2014 in the beginning of November, right? The 172, we went to 179. We are going to smash that. I'm telling you, you're going to smash it for sure. And again, the reason that's going to happen is you have to look at the economic agendas of the city of Dubai. You can never separate real estate as a standalone without understanding the economic agenda of Dubai. Real estate, if I had to use another word for it, infrastructure. You cannot have economies that are growing and infrastructure that is stagnant. It cannot happen. That will happen when your economy is stagnant or flatlined. We have the Dubai 33 agenda, the Dubai economic agenda, where the economy will double in the next 10 years. We are sitting at 14.6 trillion. We will go to 26.2 trillion. So a doubling of the economy in 10 years. How is it possible that real estate will not grow? Why? I need offices, commercial space. We need warehouses. We need hotels. We need communities. We need towers, residential towers. We need the malls, the retail, the nightclubs. We need so much infrastructure. Your economy cannot grow when real estate is stagnating. And when we have such an aggressive agenda, it only has to go upwards. I mean, I can give a lot of examples. I just don't know how much time you want me to spend on.
We have some time.
Okay.
So.
Let's take another example. I think this will help you really when you talk with clients.
Dr. May I try to make it more precise? Like,
I'm going to give specifics.
Agents are facing objection that like market is in trouble or we are entering in a downturn, and they hear it from the clients. So
okay.
How would you advise them to address this objection?
Okay, I'll give you the answer to both. That Dubai is a bubble, as well as prices will start correcting, it has to drop. I'll give you the answer to both of them, okay? Let's start with the bubble. Now, I'm sure you're already aware of the UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index report. Yes? No? Yes. All right. Okay, now, don't just bring the report out in front of clients because you don't use it in a powerful way. The first thing you have to accept is 90 to 95% of the people who tell you it's a bubble have no clue what is a bubble. They've just heard it from everybody because I've been hearing it from 2006. This is a really strong bubble. It's just not bursting. So the first thing is people will throw it at you. Your immediate response to anyone who throws this at you is, I'm glad you brought that up. Where exactly did you get it from? That's your first response. I'm glad you brought that up. Where exactly? You have to put it that way. Where exactly did you get it from? And watch for the answer. They'll go, wait, everybody's talking about it. You will immediately know that there is no foundation to the statement that they threw because it's what everybody is saying. But what you've done actually in that moment is you've made him realize in his mind at that moment that I threw a statement but I couldn't actually back it up. So the first thing you do, never answer it, challenge it. You could simply say, that's an interesting observation. Where exactly did you get that from? They will fall apart on that, okay? It's all over the news channels. I heard it on TV. My friends work in banks. They'll give you all the crap. So once that is done, your next job is to ask them, by the way, what exactly is a bubble? Ask them this question. I would be surprised if any of them could give you a concrete answer. What they will give you is one part of it. They will tell you when prices are rising fast and consistently over a certain period of time, that is an indicator of a bubble market. And yes, that is an indicator, but that is not the full picture. When an economy is having a strong, aggressive upward growth in terms of, let's say, real estate, prices are going up and they have gone up consistently from August of 2020, right? So when prices are going up like this, it's only a bubble when the economy or the city where it is going up is flatlined. Either it is flatlined or having a marginal growth. So what is happening in such a market is that this particular industry is pulling away from the performance of the market. It will collapse. Now, that is what you look at and call a bubble. Now, when you look at Dubai, have prices been going up? Yes. Has it been going up consistently? Yes. So by that definition, it appears to be a bubble. But now, throw into the mix the economy of Dubai. You can never ever separate real estate from the economy of Dubai. So let's look at what's happening in the economy. We know prices have gone up. But we now know Sheikh Mohammed's agenda, the Dubai economic agenda, is to double the economy in the next 10 years. So when an economy is growing or targeting between 7 to 8% in the first year itself, and then it will become a cumulative, right? When you have an economy that is going upwards and real estate prices are going upwards, the two are not separating from each other. That's the first thing we have to understand. Part of that economic agenda is to grow the population of Dubai to 6 million by 2033. It will go to 7.8 million by 2040. We are now at 3.65 million. So we have an average, we're expecting 2.5 million people to come in the next 10 years, which is an average of 250,000 people every single year. Now, what is the average size of a family in Dubai? 5.3. You will get this number from the CEIC, which is the Census and Economic Information Center. They calculate the average number of people per household by looking at the ijaris, and you get the number of tenants registered. So the average family size is 5. And if I get 250,000 people coming every year, you're talking approximately 50,000 families. What's the number of units that we are expecting in handovers? We had 37,000 units handed over last year. We're now expecting an average of 55,000 units to be handed over from 24 to 28. You're talking about 11,000 units every single year. I need, for the new population coming in itself, just for the new population, I need 50,000 homes. We are short 38,000 homes every year from now for the next 10 years. And this is the reason why all the developers are into aggressive launches now. The Imars, the Damaks, the Miras, they don't just wake up and say, let's launch, because they know how markets work. They work with the government, looking at the economic agenda, and they know there's a shortage. We had a total of 100,000 units that were launched from August of 2020 till end of last year. Those are the units that is handing over from now till 2028. They will be absorbed. They will be gone simply because of the population coming in. All the new launches that are happening now will become handovers from 2028 onwards. These launches are to take care of the shortage 5 years from now. Everything that is going to be handed over now will get absorbed because we already have a shortage. Secondly, the mistake that people make here is they do not relate or they compare the Dubai of 2024 with the Dubai of 2014. That is what you would have seen in all the newspapers, in the articles. All through last year, all the reports were saying prices have not yet peaked to 2014 level. We crossed that in the first week of November. In off-plan, we crossed it in August last year. So we have already peaked. What happened? Are the prices going down? But all the reports last year said, once it peaks, correction is going to enter. Correction comes in for 18 months after that, and then you get a 3-year drop on prices. But did the prices correct? No, they're continuing to grow. Why? There is a requirement for future homes which can only be met through the launches of today. Because whatever is going to be handed over now is going to get absorbed. 2014, when the prices peaked and there was supply coming into the market, developers held back on launches because yes, there were many units in the market. But that is because the Dubai of 2014, 10 years ago, did not have the strategy for absorption of units. We never had a 10-year visa, right? 2014? So we did not have something where people would wait for the handover and grab it and go and get their visas. Now you know what's happening, right? You can get it just so easily. So that itself is going to absorb many of those homes that will come out. As a result, when the absorption happens, prices will not drop. They will stay. We are already short of homes. If you looked at September of last year, every major newspaper carried this headline: Dubai to face housing shortage in the ultra high net worth category as well as the affordable category. In a city like Dubai, the 4 major national newspapers will not go out and make such a statement without it coming from the media office. And all of them said it. So what are they referring to when they're saying Dubai is going to face a shortage in both these areas? One, we know that the population increase is going to require more homes. We don't have that. 2, the 10-year visa is making people absorb and pick up property. 3, we have had a new type of buyer who's entered the market now, the first-time buyer. Because they've been paying so much on rent, 42% it went up in 3 years, projection this year is another 20%. So these people are now looking to buy, but you will see them buying secondary homes, ready homes. Mostly they'll take a mortgage and it's their first homes. So you will see it in areas like JVC, JVT, Arjan, Furjan, Dubai South, Town Square, Business Bay, Dubai Land areas, because these are not the investors. The investors are still coming because they've seen the future, but a new type of home buyer is coming. The first time buyer looking for a mortgage in the affordable homes category. and we are short already in that category. That is the reason why you have so many launches happening. The 1% plan you're hearing all the time now. Yeah, 1%, Danube used to be the king of that, but now everybody literally in those communities is giving 1%. Why do you think they're giving 1%? Because when affordable homes are short and people want to buy their first home because they're losing on the rent, there's a high probability they will not get a mortgage. Because for most of these people, their credit scores may not be that great, or they've got a loan for a car, they have a personal loan. Most of them have 3, 4, 5 credit cards. So even if they had to go as an evaluation for a mortgage, there's a very high probability it's not going to come. So what have the developers done now? With a little markup on the price, they'll introduce a 1% plan. So you don't have to go through giving all those documents. You don't have to hope that the bank will do it for you. Just come to us. Come to us. If you can arrange a 10% now, in some cases 20, we'll give you 6-year, 7-year, 8-year plans with a 1%. Now that is being done to help these first-time buyers to make it easy for them to actually consider opportunities, because many of them will not get it, the mortgage. So you'll see a lot of, and many of them are post-handover, 1090, 2080s. So this huge demand is there. So now we see rents are going up. Agree? Yeah, prices are going up. Economy is growing up. Last year we closed the GDP at 4.1%. The world GDP was 2.7%. They dropped it to 2%. So we are literally more than 100% above the world GDP. The two fastest growing economies in the world, India is at 4.5%, China is at 5.5%, the US is at 1.3%. So when you have an economy that is booming, when you have demand, when you have rents that are rising, when you have the 10-year visa where people are coming in and absorbing, when you have a population increase of 250,000 people every single year with a shortage of around 38,000 homes, how is it possible that launches will not continue to happen? The economy is not flatlined. The economy is now one of the fastest growing economies in the world. We have the second most stable economy on the planet, the US News and World Reports. Number 1 is Switzerland. So when all of these graphs are going in a parallel pattern, where is the bubble? The bubble is when you have one industry rising, which does not make sense, and your economy is flatlined. Not happening here. We are doubling the foreign investments in the next 10 years to 650 billion foreign direct investments. We are already number 1 on the planet with greenfield foreign investments, which is the strongest type of investment worldwide. Dubai is number 1. We had 511 projects approved for Dubai last year. Singapore is number 2 with 186. That's a 325 gap between the two. For every 1 greenfield investment announced in Singapore, 4 are announced in Dubai. We're opening 3 new logistics and business corridors. Latin America, and you know why? We're part of BRICS, right? We're part of BRICS now. How can you not open an economic corridor to Latin America? So that is opening. We're opening Africa. Everybody knows it's the continent of the future. We're opening Southeast Asia. You've seen what's happening with Asia coming into Dubai. China's back with a bang. So 3 new logistics corridors are being opened. We are doubling the trade with 400 more cities being added into the Dubai map in the next 10 years. So with all of this that is happening, you expect real estate to not grow? So where is the bubble? Where is the bubble? And this is the, think logically. Last year everybody was talking 2014, right? Do you think Nakil has lost it? A 200 billion project like Palm Jebel Ali, they've gone and launched. All through for the next 4 years, you're going to have launches. 80 new hotels coming up just on that, 35,000 homes. They launched. Emaar went and launched a 20 billion project, the Oasis, right? Phase 1 and 2 and now 3. So you think these people are not aware? These are the leaders in the market for the last 23 years. They can't figure out the dynamics of where this city is going. They don't understand the Dubai 33 agenda, the urban master plan. They know exactly what they're doing. So we have the reports globally saying that the market is going up. We have developers launching like crazy. Yes, no. Launching like crazy, right? But are people buying? It's selling out. Every single launch is selling out. So Mr. Investor, whoever is this Mickey Mouse you meet, yeah, Mr. Investor, global reports are all positioning Dubai as #1 on performance now. Okay, and you can quote the reports: Knight Frank, CBRE, Savills Prime Real Estate Index, Henley Partner, H&P. There is the UBS Global. All these reports are there. So the reports are putting Dubai in #1 position. The population is growing up because people are coming with the new jobs and the strong economy that we have. The developers are launching like nuts, and people are swallowing it. You're having 14,000 EOIs coming for towers which have got 600 units. 14,000 EOIs. You think these investors don't know what they're doing? Why are they coming so early? Because they know when they come in now, they get the softest prices, they get the longest payment plans, the highest possible returns, and the flexibility. They can exit anytime they want. If people don't understand this, I'm sorry, they're just in the wrong market.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Such a good answer to the question, and yeah, let's give another round of applause for this. Thank you. I hope you took notes. And whenever you have a question, just note it down, because later you'll have a chance to ask it as well. Dr. Anand, let's discuss our topic about mindful selling. It's how we can combine empathy and business, because sometimes they go in different paths, and there are some consequences related to this. So can you please tell us more about your concept of mindful selling?
All right. Okay. Mindful selling is where we move away from using traditional selling methods and a typical process to working with engaging in the mind. Where do people make their decisions? In here. But do you even know the guy who says, for example, I've been sitting in front of you talking a lot for a while. Am I a left brain thinker? Am I a right brain thinker? See, this is the problem, right? Okay. Now, if I don't even know who the person is in front of me, what is your opening line? How do you even start your pitch? People think and process information very, very differently if they are left brain dominant and if they are right brain dominant. So most of the times when we lose an opportunity, or the client says, let me come back to you, it has got nothing to do with the community or the opportunity. It has everything to do with two people sitting there without even knowing who the other person is. One turns up with a cricket bat, the other comes with a soccer ball, right? The best definition I ever heard of sales is the transfer of passion and enthusiasm for the product from the mind of the salesperson to the mind of the prospect. If you can get them excited the way you are excited about it, they will buy. But again, another factor that we have to consider here, and you can debate this, no problem, I'll give you the answers. All buying decisions, every single buying decision is emotional. Okay, even the hardcore nut, that tough investor, his decision will be based on an emotion. Logic will justify the buying process. So I will evaluate, analyze, compare, challenge, counter. I'll do all of that using my left brain. As a result of doing all of that, I will feel good about it, or I will not feel good about it. That's where I make the decision, because my feeling brain feeds back and says, you know what, I don't feel good about it. Those numbers that we looked at don't convince me. The decision is always made on that feeling. So empathy that comes in is where we begin to now sell and present, not based on how we know and understand the opportunity, but it is how they need to understand the opportunity. I say this all the time. People buy from people they like, but people like themselves. So if you're not evaluating in the first 5 seconds on a phone call, in the first 15 seconds face to face, when you see a WhatsApp, if you're not evaluating the person who's writing the WhatsApp, is he left brain or right brain? How are you even replying? Here's the secret. You never reply to a WhatsApp. You reply to the person behind the WhatsApp. The WhatsApp is simply a communication channel. When someone sits and talks to you, they use words, but they will have a preference for certain words, the way they frame sentences, how they will select it which is based on their unconscious patterns. So they reveal who they are and how they like to think in the choice of their words, the framing of the sentence, the tonality in the voice, how loud, how soft they speak. Listen for that, and then don't reply to the words, reply to the person who's speaking it. You do this in a Zoom meeting, you do it on a phone call, you do it face to face. Mindful selling is keeping in mind the person who's going to make the buying or the selling decision. Now, if they're buying, you will present it the way they need to hear it. Traditional selling does not work anymore, all right? The elements of traditional selling are still there. Yes, you have to reach out, you have to build rapport, you have to connect with the person, you have to take control, you have to qualify, you need to summarize the qualifying, you need to do your pitch or your presentation, you answer the objections, you close the deal, and you build your new network with referral generation. That is the standard selling process that has been here for 200 years. But people have evolved. People now understand and evaluate things very, very differently. So everybody agrees we have to build rapport with clients? What do you think? Yeah? Or you just walk in and say, oh, by the way, this new product just got, because some people do that. Are you interested in property? My first question is, are you interested in me? I actually asked that to people. I said, sir, are you interested in property? I said, no. But are you interested in me? Let's spend a few minutes and talk about each other, shall we? They don't do that, right? So my question is this. Left-brain people respond to empathy and warm-up and rapport differently than right-brain people. But if I do not understand this dynamic, I'm going in with one standard rehearsed way of building rapport, which has been my unconscious pattern for the last 20, 50, 60, 100, 200 meetings. I've created my own unconscious pattern. Most of the time, I'm not even aware of my own unconscious pattern. So I just sit there and I do it. But why do I do that? Because in my unconscious pattern is my comfort and my confidence. But the guy is not even sitting on the same side of the head as you. Think of it as two rooms in the house. This is the analogy I use all the time. Two rooms in a house. And you got one person in, the client is in one room and you're in another room. What is the possibility of a conversation happening? You're in two different rooms. Even if the client understands this concept, he's not leaving his room to come to yours. You're going to have to get up and get out of your room and go into his room. Then you can engage. Because people buy from people they like, but people like themselves. Let me give you other examples of why mindful selling and empathy is important. You would have come across a lot of clients who talk a lot. True? Someone like me. Yeah? Okay, they'll talk a lot, but they're very random, they're very scattered. You're sitting there, you might be this very serious, left-brain, process-driven, well-prepared person, ready to get into the engagement, and this guy's talking about the new beaches that are opening, the new seafood restaurant, the weather dropping in Dubai. How come it didn't drop? Usually your winter is in December, right? What happened? How come it's in... And you're sitting there wondering, what does this have to do with the home? And you're sitting there eager to pull him back into the left brain, logical, practical, structured, sequential, fact-based. But this guy is relationship-based. He loves to talk. He is the center of all transactions. He's the center of the universe. But he is not structured. He's not detailed. He's not logical. He thinks 1-5, purple, Dubai, alligator. And he can hold all of this in his mind and make sense of all the 5 things. But the poor left brain, who's very linear, 1, 2, 2.1, 2.2, says, where did alligator come into this conversation from? So they don't get it. So now what happens? You see this client on the phone, face to face, they ramble, they're talking about anything and everything. What's the conclusion we draw? The guy's wasting my time. He's not serious. Really? Do you even know if he's left-brained or right-brained? So you don't know that. So you jump to a conclusion just because this guy is talking about anything and everything other than property. You know what? He's a waste of time. That's why you need the mindful selling.
So, can you summarize this information with regards to the left and the right brain, and when we should use more emotions and when we should use more analytics, just to cover that?
Okay. You want me to confuse it more? There's a front brain and back brain also.
Let's step with the left and right.
For now, let's just stay with left brain and right brain. Okay. The left brain people are logical, sequential and structured, very well organized, focus on effectiveness and practicality. They are result oriented. They want data backed by proof. That's your left brain person. Okay. The right brain person is more relationship, emotional, engagement, connection, fun, easy way of doing it. They love having a conversation. Their sentences will be long, it will be vague, and they will not focus on detail. Whereas the left brain will be specific sentences, to the point, and very practical. So left brain is objective, right brain is subjective. Okay? Left brain is short and specific, right brain will go all over the planet. If you ask them a simple question, so how much are you looking at investing? They will say, well, once upon a time there was a king and a queen. They had 3 lovely children. The first one was named Alice, the second, and you're wondering, I just asked you a simple question, how much are you looking at investing? They will give you the answer, but they'll take you on a journey first. So maybe a more practical example, well, how much are you looking at investing? Well, that really depends. You see, I was originally thinking about, actually I planned to do a townhouse, but now maybe the villas are looking more attractive to me. So can we look at potential on villas, and then maybe that will help me give you the answer. That's right brain. So he's intending to answer, but he will go through all of this and then he will come to the answer. So this is what happens. So left brain, very specific, logical, structured. Right brain, more friendly, relationship based. Now, on the left brain, there's 2 types again. There is the front brain, left brain, the aggressive guys. Most of the investors you get, the hardcore investors, 1, 5, 10, khalas, that's it. How much? They'll speak short, sharp, specific, intense eye contact. Gestures are strong, not friendly, free-flowing. Right brain is friendly, free-flowing. They smile, body moves a lot, exactly what I'm doing right now. Long sentences, more vague, but good eye contact, laugh, they share jokes, anecdotes with you. That's just how they buy anything. Now, in traditional rapport, if you had a person and they were talking and they were engaging with you, what would you conclude? That they are comfortable with you, yes, no? Because that's what we are taught. In rapport, it's about trust and comfort. So when people have open body language, when they have good eye contact, they're speaking freely with you, engaging, asking questions, rapport has been built. Bullshit. Okay. All right brain people will talk. They'll talk to taxi drivers on the way home. They'll get into an elevator and they never shut up. You've met these people, right? You walk into an elevator full of 20 people and there'll be these 2 going jibba jabba, jibba jabba, jibba jabba. And they don't care who's around them. But they're having fun. Immediately in your head, right brain. That's who they are. So my point here being, just because someone opens up, talks to you, smiles, looks friendly, doesn't mean they trust you. They'll have an amazing conversation. There's no way I'm putting 3 million on the table just because of that. So these old traditional techniques of building rapport, qualifying don't work anymore. Mindful selling looks at the new techniques. I'll give you one more example here. Qualifying. Oh, by the way, how many brains do we have? Those of you watching my podcast, don't answer this. How many brains do we have? 2 or 4. Okay. The left and the right are hemispheres, 2 sides, right? And yes, you got front and back. So you have 4 quadrants, but physical brains in my head, we have 3 brains. All of us have 3 brains. It looks like one because they're layered one on top of the other like an onion. So you only see the outer layer. Now each of these 3 brains responds to a different set of questions and confirms acceptance based on different criteria. However, when a decision needs to be made, all 3 will work with each other. So if I am not aware of this and I'm sitting with a client and I'm qualifying and I'm presenting, I'm probably doing it to one of these 3 brains. Chances are my unconscious pattern, whichever is my preference, that's the approach, so I'll talk to one brain. So comes the decision-making moment. I've done my qualifying, done the presentation, done the viewing, answered objections, now I have to go for my close. So in the brain, what does the client do? Think of a round conference table, something like this, and 3 chairs. The three brains are coming together to decide, do we do this or not do it? Now the salesperson engaged with one brain, and that brain loves everything you said and showed and did. So that brain is super excited. Guys, what do we do now? And the other two say, do what? I mean, he just spoke to us. He told us a lot of things. It makes perfect sense. What do we do now? They said, we don't know. He spoke to you, not to us. And the three brains always decide collectively. There is no human decision on the planet done only from one. So what will you end up having as a response in this case? Let me come back to you. I need to think about this. Absolutely. Because only one brain seems to be excited. The other two have to still figure out what is going on here. I need to check with somebody. I'll get back. You will end up with these responses. Not everyone who tells you I'll come back to you is saying no. This is what we have been conditioned to believe because we have a very traditional approach. Let me think about this. He's just information gathering. He's making an excuse. Really? In your own approach, how did you engage all the three brains in the process? And you expect the person to buy? Now take the selling process itself. The entire selling process must engage left brain and right brain. But you have to know at each point in my selling process, which brain should I be talking to and where the client should be sitting. The whole selling process goes through left as well as right. So I want to explain that to you now, and you need to go back and evaluate your current selling process. If you're not doing it this way, I promise you, you will be losing more than you're closing, okay? All selling engagements, whether it's on a WhatsApp, whether it's a response to a lead or a campaign, whether it's a Zoom meeting, face-to-face, you could be at a road show, anything, you meet a person, all first contacts will only happen in right brain. Only happen in right brain. How many of you pick up the phone and call somebody who's not expecting the call? They get upset, right? They get irritated. Being upset, or some get even angry. That's an emotion. So they're sitting in right brain at that moment. They're in emotional space. How can you start from left brain? This is the reason why in sales we tell people don't rush the warm-up stage, because the purpose of warm-up is what? Rapport, comfort, trust. Those are all right brain words. So don't rush it because you need to build the comfort, build the trust. Or he's coming to meet with you. Okay, we've had a few back and forths. I do have some trust, not full. How many of you trust salespeople? There you go. So they will come for the meeting, but just the day before coming, he was sitting with his friend having a shisha. He met Dennis and he said, listen, I'm planning to go for this opportunity. I'm going to this sales center. And Dennis starts laughing. He said, what the hell is wrong with you? Did you know this? And now what's happened? Anxiety, nervousness, doubt. These are all feelings. So he will still come to meet with you, but there's this nagging thought at the back of his head. He's sitting in right brain. You have to start the selling engagement only in the right brain, even with hardcore investors. You connect with them there. Even if a person has responded to to a campaign, he's in a curiosity mode. Curiosity, by the way, is a feeling, okay? So I meet them in the right brain in the start of the process. I make sure I establish the rapport, and then I pull them by taking control into the left brain for the next part of the process. The word process itself is left brain. So I take control of the sales. Control, by the way, is a left brain word. And I do that by setting an agenda. So let's say it's Sumer, and I'll say, Sumer, let me tell you what's going to happen next. Because people want to know how you're running your meeting, right? I'm spending 2 hours with you. What do you plan to do? Now, agendas are left brain because they're structured and they're sequential. Just by setting an agenda, he jumps into the left brain because his unconscious pattern associates the agenda with left brain. So let me tell you what happens next. First, with your permission, I'd just like to ask a few questions so I better understand what kind of opportunity you're looking for. After that, we will visit 1 or 2 of the communities on the sales floor so that we can explain the opportunities. We'll then visit one of their villas. This is really important that you experience the lifestyle. When we come back, you see what we're doing? We're setting an agenda. He's already left brain, for sure, guaranteed. Otherwise, he doesn't have a brain. So he's already in left brain. So I've got him where he needs to be for the logic in the process that will continue. Now, after that, all qualifying must be done in left brain, never in right brain. Why? Because right brain is imaginative, it is creative. Left brain is fact and recall. So when I'm sitting and I want to find out what does your ideal home look like, or what kind of an investment opportunity are you interested in, I don't want imaginative answers. I don't want created answers. This is why I have to pull the client into the left brain before I start qualifying. Otherwise he sits in the right brain and he paints this palace for you. And you'll go back, do your research, find palaces for him, and then the guy freaks out, no, too much. So you never, open budget. You hear this from people? Yeah? Well, money, no problem. Open budget. That's right brain. Problem. You should never continue in the process because this guy is sitting in creative element. I need him in fact. So what do I do at that moment? I'll just ask a very simple question. Client says, open budget, no problem. I'll say, excellent. We've got this amazing 7-bedroom villa, Jumeirah Golf Estates, overlooking the Fire Golf Course, 49.8 million. Every bedroom with its own balcony. Would that be something you're interested in? Immediately you'll jump into the level. No, I'm looking for 8 million. Khalas, I got my specific answer. Because I went specific on him. 5-bedroom villa, Jumeirah Golf Estates, overlooking the Fire Golf Course, every bedroom with its own balcony, 47.9 million. It's all specifics. Left brain, he will jump in there with you. So you only qualify in left brain, never in the right brain. You summarize the qualification in the left brain, you present the solution in the left brain. Because there is a structure in how you present. You don't just walk into a villa and just start presenting. You don't just walk up to any model on the sales floor and start presenting. You always present from the outside to the inside, from the lower levels to the upper levels, from public spaces to private spaces. That's the structure for presenting. But that's the structure, and structure is left-brained. Then when I finish that, I handle objections and concerns, which must also happen in left brain. Clients may raise speculations, they may raise opinions, they may raise fact, but you can only answer with fact. If you're going to speculate, then you have problems, because it means that the client can challenge what you're saying. So fact-based responses will come from the left brain. For the closing, you will pull them into the right brain. So you will do pulse checks. In every single stage of the process, I will do a pulse check. How do you check if a person's alive? The pulse, right? I need to know in the selling process that the client is alive with me, or am I dragging a dead body through the whole presentation? They're not going to get up and walk away. They came to meet you, but they're dead. So at every single stage in the selling process, I do a pulse check. I need to know he is emotionally invested and engaged with me at that point. Only then will I go to the next part in the process. If I don't do my pulse checks, I'm taking a dead body through the process. What will you hear at the end? I'll come back to you. Let me think about it. So you go back and close in the right brain, and you manage buyer's remorse, which is another emotion, which happens also in the right brain. After people leave, they begin to question their decision. Some of them will start doing their serious research at that time. That's when they'll go and talk to who? Friends, family. And suddenly everybody in Dubai is an expert on real estate. And they will be experts without using fact, they will use speculation. And you have to go back later for referrals, right? Why would a person give you a referral? Because they're not feeling good about you now. People will not remember the facts you quoted. They will not remember the analysis and the logical structure, but they will remember how they felt after that transaction with you. So even your selling process has to be mindful. It has to go through the left and the right and end. So it has to go through the right, the left, and end in the right again. If you're not doing these things, you're seriously hurting yourself, because you're just using a structure, an unconscious pattern.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Let's give another round of applause. Juliana, can you assist with the mic, please? Guys, so if you have a question, you can raise your hands up and we will pass the mic. Guys, when you ask the question, if you can please introduce yourself and in which company you're working. I'm sorry, can you speak a bit louder?
I'm not speaking with and the quick question, when you mentioned during the sales process, taking the client on the journey from that structured brain to the emotional closing, how this transition, since the transition can be done, could you give one example?
Okay. So I think the question is that how do you do the transition to take them back from the left to the right? To the closing, right? How? Okay, it's done through questioning, right? By the way, you don't do it only at the closing, you do it at the end of every stage to do the pulse check. So let's just take an example. Let's say you are in the EMAR sales center and the client is looking for an opportunity in Oasis, right? You can do this, by the way, secondary. I'll give you a secondary example also. So you are at the model, you finish qualifying the client. Whenever you qualify the client, what do you do next after you qualify? Sorry? Well, you should do pulse check. So what do? You summarize, right? Never present, okay? This is a huge mistake. Never start presenting after qualifying. Summarize. We call it a reverse pitch. Repeat his own needs back to him. He cannot say no to it. It's his own need. But he will say yes. And you will check the tonality of the yes. So here's an example. You will take the name of the client because I'm going into a pulse check, which is a feeling check. Right brain is about names. So I would say, Ahmed, from what you told me, you're interested in a 4-bedroom villa. You prefer it in a community like Tilal Al Gaf. You would like to have it overlooking the lake. And for that kind of a home, you could invest up to 14 million and you could make a decision in the next 2 weeks. Is that correct? And then you listen to the tonality. If they says, well, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. That is not a 10 on 10. That's a 5 on 10. Well, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. If they say, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Good. Now I know there's a confident tone and I've summarized and made him say yes, that's what I'm looking for. Now, when you go to present, and you'll do the same thing for closing. So let's say I take him to the sales floor and I'm going to show him the Oasis model. When you present the model, do not walk away from the model after you are presented. What normally happens, you present the model, please come with me, and you go to another model if you want to show, or you get into a car and you go to see the villa. Don't do that. At the model, after you've presented, ask a question. But take the name. The client immediately goes into right brain. So Ahmed, what questions do you have about Oasis? Don't ask, do you have any questions? It's a closed question. So Ahmed, what questions do you have about Oasis? Don't ask this when you move away from the model because he's going to forget the model. You've seen it because you presented 200 times. You're a community expert in Emirates sales. You have been there 400 times. It's in your head. It's not in the head of your buyer or your seller. A seller probably it's in his head because he's been living there. But it's not in the buyer's head. So if you come back and on the way back you're asking, so what questions do you have? I'll have to cook up questions because I cannot relate back to the community. So standing at the model, I would simply ask, so Ahmed, what questions do you have about this community? The quality of the questions will already give you a fact check. Okay. Then my next question would be, after you answered it, say, so what did you like about this community? Like is a right brain question. So what do you like about Oasis? When they'll tell you, I like, well, I like 1, 2, 3. Say, what else? So I keep them on the like side. So they are staying in the right brain. Then I'll ask the question, so Ahmed, can you see yourself with your family living in this community for say the next 5 to 8 years? And if they say, well, yeah, I can see that, say, excellent. That's your pulse check. That's how you've done the right side. Now, in closing, what you could do is you could use this Layering. It's called a layering technique. You ask them 3 questions where they will say yes to the answer. And you check the tonality of the yes, because the tonality tells you the level of the degree of conviction, right? Just ask 3 yes questions. It's very hard to say no after that. So here's an example. So I take the name again. After I've finished answering every question, all the objections, I'll say, so Ahmed, you can see now how this opportunity actually will give you good returns. True? They'll say, yes. Listen to the tone. If they say, well, yeah, I can see that. Perfect. You know he's got that. Then you'll go to the next one. You can also see why your risk factor has been minimized in this kind of community. True? Well, yes, I see that. And I've also answered every question you had about how this will work out. Correct? Yes. Well, Ahmed, in that case, why don't we just finish the paperwork on this so I can go ahead and explain the next steps to you? Shall we? Hard to say no after that. When you said 3 strong yeses, it's very difficult for the person to say no. So that is how you will take them into the right brain. Another way to do it, another way to do it is to bring third party into it. Right brain is relationships and third party. So Ahmed, the reason why so many families like yours are investing in this community is because of 1, 2, 3. Makes sense? Sounds good? But associate it with other people. Don't say that this community is good for you because of 1, 2, 3. That is left brain, detached from people. The reason why so many families like yours are interested in this community is 1, 2, 3. Make sense? That's one thing you can do. Use the third party and bring it in.
Thank you. Guys, next question. Oh, here, please.
Arun Galician, Pinyakup Real Estate. Dr. Anand, can you give us some examples or some exercises that will help us to practice that experience?
The left brain, right brain?
Correct.
All right, pick up a book. You can type it on your phone. It's called Surrounded by Idiots. All right, by Thomas Erickson. Surrounded by Idiots is a book that actually explores the 4 types of thinking personalities, preferences for behavior, how these 4 types actually communicate, whether they're asking a question or whether they're giving you an answer. And what are the clues you can look for? Tonalities. For example, all front brain people, he's front brain. They speak loud. So when you speak loud, for example, you're calling a person and say, hello, you already know it is right, front brain. Now I just have to figure out, is it front left, front right? Okay, so all those techniques are actually there in that book. Great book, Surrounded by Idiots. It will give you the 4 types of human beings, essentially. All your buyers, as long as you're selling to a human being, they will fit in one of those 4. So there are lots of practical examples and techniques. I'll give you 1 or 2 examples. For example, if you want feedback from your buyer or your seller, and if you have identified that they are left brain people, you will never ask them, so how do you feel about this opportunity? The left brain does not feel, they think and evaluate. So he's been thinking and analyzing everything you're saying, and you suddenly say, how do you feel? It jars. What do you mean, how do I feel? How was I feeling? What was I feeling? I was thinking. So if you want good feedback from them, I would simply say, so what do you think? Now you see what I did here. I didn't just change the words. I became short, sharp, specific, almost in control, right? So what do you feel? Oh, sorry, so what do you think? Now, if it's a right brain person, I know they feel. So what I would do, I say, so Dennis, how do you feel about this opportunity? Longer words, softer tone. Dennis has been brought into it. I'll not ask, so Dennis, what do you think? Dennis was feeling his way through the whole meeting. He was processing what's going on by how he's feeling. So you want genuine feedback, because if I ask him, what do you think? And he's right brain, he's not going to have to figure, what was I thinking? He never focused on thinking anyway. They'll create and give you feedback which will make no sense to you at all. So right brain, left brain, so what do you think? Right brain, Dennis, how do you feel about this opportunity? See the difference? That's one example. So multiple, there are plenty examples. Keep the sentences short. Another tip, something you can start immediately from today. You get a WhatsApp, Never reply to the WhatsApp, reply to the person behind the WhatsApp. So take a step back and just look at the pattern. You will find some people will usually use single lines or just fewer, not interested. Which one? Too much. You'll get this. They're already telling you, I'm impatient, I want to get to the point, and I don't like to speak too much. Now imagine you trying to justify and you're explaining with a paragraph why it is not too much. The first thing that happens to me when I open the reply and I see that paragraph, I switch off. I have to read that whole thing to find the answer. So as much as possible, you mirror and match the pattern. One word, one line, give one line. That's how you do it. So when he sees it, his frame of reference is short sentences and single lines. He feels comfortable. That's rapport. Because of just the way you are mirroring and matching. So what do you do in case they ask you a question and you actually have to give a long answer? Use a voice note. Why? Because the voice note shows mental frame, single line. And you can say a whole lot more in 10 seconds of voice note than you type. But because you know he's impatient and short, your voice note should not be about, hi Dennis, hope things are going well with you today. Listen, that was an absolutely amazing question. Dennis has switched off already. So I just immediately on the voice note, without referencing, hello Dennis, nothing. I'll just go straight and say the reason these villas are priced at this is because of 1, 2, and 3. 80% of the investors who come into this community do so because they get the highest possible returns within the first 18 months. That's it. Send it. Fast, to the point, specific. They love that.
Thank you. Next question, guys. While we come up with the question, I have one question from the community, and it's related to our relationship with the clients. How to set a proper expectation of what a client can expect out of the agent. Because if you read like reviews or what people are saying about the agents, they're saying, oh, they closed the deal, they disappeared, they're not like taking care of us, and maybe the deal happened like many years ago. So how would you approach this part by setting the right expectations with the client?
Okay, firstly, there is a lot of truth in that statement. This is the harsh reality of real estate in Dubai. And I'm sorry guys if I upset you, but I'm going to say it. 80% of brokers in Dubai should be out of the market. They honestly don't care about the buyer, they don't care about the seller, they don't have integrity to truthfully and honestly giving answers, they don't care about their brokerages or the developers, they don't care about anybody, they only stiff the money and they've come for that. Honey will always attract flies. So unfortunately, many of these unprofessional agents have given us that image in the market. There's not much you can do about the image in the market. The only thing that you should focus on is when you are talking to your client, that you are able to show him why you are different from those people. So some of the examples that you give to your clients must show or bring in things about, I had this client who bought a property 2 years ago. I met him last week just to see what has been going on. How has his experience been in that community? I do that with all my clients, Dennis. Dennis is my client. I said, Dennis, when someone buys from me, I always stay in touch with them. For example, last month, I went and met this guy who had picked up a villa in Sidra in Dubai Hills Estate. I just wanted to know how happy he was with that villa and the experiences that he's having. So you have to start throwing these things in. Another thing that you can do, this perception that brokers don't follow up doesn't happen just after the sale. It happens right after the listing takes place. Until you get the documents for the listing, we are all after the clients, true?
Yeah.
We just keep calling them, we keep following up, but once we get the documents and we list, we don't get back till we have a buyer. Sometimes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. In many cases, the sellers have to call the agent and say, what's happening with my listing? That is why they have this impression. Even if you do not have a good offer and you don't have a proper client, every 3 days you should give a call to that seller. Why? The first thing you build some relationship in the beginning. That's why they trusted you enough to give you the documents. But the moment you stop following up or staying in touch with them, you've destroyed that feeling they had. So every 3 days, just give them a call. They will take your phone. And simply have to say, Ahmed, listen, the reason I'm calling you today is I just wanted to give you an update on the last 3 days and what we have been doing for your home. Now, I did get an offer. You wanted 4.8. This was only at 4.2. So I really didn't want to waste your time. I haven't brought this person. So I'm going to still keep doing this. I'm talking to a couple of buyer agents. I should have someone for you in the next few days. Just call, stay alive, and give them the feedback. 3 days later, call again. Sell your effort, because when you are not in touch with people, they don't know what you're doing. So sell your effort. The other advantage of this is if you are in touch every 3 days, the relationship actually builds. They automatically start opening up more. They're willing to listen to you a little bit later. So maybe he wanted 4.8, but I got this buyer at a 4.4. If I have not stayed in touch with this person for 6 weeks and I say I have a buyer with 4.4, he'll say forget him, get me someone else. But if I've been regularly in touch with him and then I say, by the way, Ahmed, I did get an offer, not exactly what we're looking for, but let's hear this guy out. There's a possibility we can move him up. He's coming in at a 4.4. What are your thoughts? But now this is a very different broker talking to him. There's a stronger relationship. You will actually have your sellers more open with you. So it's really important that you have to stay in touch and you have to constantly give the feedback. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. That's I guarantee you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience before I ask my last one, please?
Let me just add something while he's getting set up, okay? 2 things which I've noticed with brokers do a lot, and I think it will help you if you move away from it. The first is the term end user. It's a crappy term to use. I put 10 million in my villa, I'm a homeowner. Okay, end user is a very IT term. I know we use it a lot here, investors and end users. You wouldn't like to be called an end user. You are a homeowner. It's more personal also. So start getting used to saying homeowners and investors instead of saying end users. One thing which will help. The second thing is move away from words like buyer and seller, particularly when you're sitting with the opposite. So if you're sitting with a seller, don't use words like buyer. When you're with a buyer, don't use words like seller because egos come in, especially when there's differences in the price, okay? And you sit with the seller and say, listen, I got this buyer, he wants 3.2, say screw him. So that guy wants my home at that price because you said buyer. Similarly, I go to a buyer, say the seller wants this much. To hell with him, find something else. Because it's become an ego thing between 2 people. A nicer word to use is the market has appetite, right? So when you're doing your listing itself and you're agreeing pricing, that's when you should be telling them that at this point in time, the market has appetite for 3 bedrooms in this community is this. Market is not personal. Plus market implies more than one person. Market implies it's working based on recorded transactions and data. The market for 2-bedroom homes in Dubai Marina right now is this. Buyers want to pay this, to hell with the buyer. If you can avoid using buyer and seller and using more market, I think it just helps you in the conversation.
Amazing, thank you. Very good advice. Yes, please.
Thank you. This is Ali from Virtual Real Estate. I have 2 questions actually. The first one, you mentioned the agent has to educate himself. So, do you have any strategy in mind how the agent has to educate, like in terms of sources, like when on a day? You mentioned like on a daily basis, like do you have any strategy in mind? Second thing, I've been active on the secondary market, so now I'm getting on the off plan. The first objection or the first objection we're getting is why the off plan sales are more expensive than ready property. It's supposed to be the other side.
Okay. Actually, it's not supposed to be the other way around, and I'll explain why. But let's go to the first question. So what do I need to look at? What are the sources that I can have on a regular basis? Every morning, and this is what I do. I'll never give you what to do which I don't do. Every morning, the first thing I do, and I do this before I brush my teeth and before I get out of bed. And you have to do it the same way, before you brush your teeth. I'll tell you why, okay? The first thing you'll do is you'll open the Dubai Rest, and you will check how your market performed the previous day. How many transactions were registered? How many were cash transactions? How many were mortgages? What was the cash to buyer, cash to mortgage ratio? This is the first thing you'll check before you even get out of bed. Now, why should you do it before you brush your teeth? Because when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? TikTok, Instagram. You don't get out of bed to brush your teeth and then look at your Instagram. And the reason you do that is because your Instagram means the world to you. You want to know how many people watched your post. So what is really important to you is what you will do before you get out of bed. So the first thing you will look at is the Dubai Rest app. Okay? So you have to look at that every day. The second thing you'll do, you can do this after break, after you brush your teeth, is the 4 major headlines. Gulf News, Khaleej Times, The National, and Arabian Business. These 4 you have to always look at. Why these 4? If there's an announcement coming from the media office, it will be there in all 4. They will just paste it exactly the same way. But sometimes you will find Arabian Business might just say, recently a survey was conducted which put Dubai number 1. That may not be there in the others. So you have to look at all these 4. For example, there was a survey 2 weeks ago conducted by Top Move. Anybody knows which one that was? There you go. Top Move was a survey that checked 23 countries to see which country had the lowest emigration, not immigration, emigration, people leaving your country for good. So if you have a very, very low emigration, it means people are happy. They want to stay back. The economies are doing well. The UAE has the lowest emigration rate in the world. 99.37% of the people said, we don't want to leave. So that kind of a study is good for you to use. Why? When you're talking to an investor, what does that mean? People will still need to rent. People are coming in. We have 2.5 million people coming, but 99.37% will stay. There will be a shortage of homes. People will need to rent. Appreciations will happen. You will have great opportunities to resell. So you should know the studies. You'll only get that by going through these 4. The other specific real estate reports to look at, Knight Frank is a very good source. CBRE, very good. In fact, on Instagram, there is CBRE MENA, MENA. Follow them now on Instagram. Amazing insights, great reports. Saudi market, Dubai market, autumn market, spring. How did Dubai perform in the summer, residential versus hotel industry. They give you everything. And nice PDFs. You can easily even download them and send them to your clients. The third one I always look at is the Savills Global Prime Real Estate Index. Savills, S-A-V-I-L-L-S, Savills. The HNP report, Henley and Partner, very nice report to look at. The UBS, just go to the UBS Global website. It's not just for the bubble index report. They do wealth management reports on all countries around the world. They are the world's #1 wealth management private bank. $4.1 trillion is what they are managing every year. The bank is so big, it has 2 head offices in Switzerland itself. But you'll get some great investment insights around the planet. Other than that, if you're socially active, there will always be many brokers who have seen something and they're posting it. What you need to do is when you see something there, you just screenshot it or copy it. Then you need to go to the actual source and find it. Examples. We became number 3 in the world last year in August. The GPCI, the Global Power City Index. We are Dubai's number 3. So this came out in the Economist survey in August of last year. So when you read that article, don't just read it. The Economist survey. Go to the Economist survey. Find out what were the 4 criteria that were used and why Dubai is in number 3 position today. We are ahead of London, New York, Tokyo, Sydney, Paris, any of these places. But look at the history. London is a 2,000-year-old city. Paris is 1,800 years old. New York is 590 years old. A 27-year-old city has beaten all of them flat. You need to know these numbers, and that's why you need to keep referencing these studies that come out and just take a screenshot and keep it with you. The FDI, foreign direct investments, the greenfield investments, where Dubai is #1 on the planet, I won't tell you because I don't know how much time we have. Check it out. Greenfield FDI investments. Sheikh Hamdan made the announcement last year. We're number 1 on the planet. Understand the difference between a greenfield investment and a brownfield investment. The greenfield are the heavy dollars coming in for a long-term investment timeline. That's what you want to show. The number 1 country in the world for the heavy dollars, long-term investment is now Dubai. This is all part of the D33 agenda. Now to go to the second question that you had, which is how come off-plan today is more expensive than the ready units? Now the first thing you got to do is a ready unit today was probably purchased 5 years ago. So when you look at the pricing, you will see there's been an increase. But in the last 5 years, the dynamics of Dubai have completely changed. In the last 3.5 years, you know what's happened to demand in real estate? We have one of the highest demands in the world. We have one of the highest capital appreciation. Why? People are buying everything. So when the demand drives the price up in off-plan, firstly, the buildings and the communities of today are far more complicated, sophisticated than the buildings of 5 years, 8 years ago. The second thing is you need to compare. When he's talking of a ready home, is it something that was handed over 10 years ago? It's an old building in a community that doesn't give you all the services. And you're trying to compare that to a new launch, because this new launch may be 3.8 million. There is a 3.4 ready in there. I get it. But this 3.8 is the entry. This is going to go to 5 million. Because that 3.4 which is out there was probably picked up at 2.6. So what you don't realize is you're actually paying a ton of money more for something which is much older, but this one will give you a higher opportunity. The car that you drive, the BMW that you bought 5 years ago, does it cost the same today, the same model? He doesn't have the money for it. So he wants the plan. That's why he's come to sit with you here. But he's trying to tell you, listen, there is a unit out there cheaper. Why should I take so much? He's trying to get a drop. You know what you do with these clients? Ali, I don't know if there is a home out there at that price. But if it is there, take it. He's not getting up and going anywhere. He's yours after that.
Thank you. Do we have any? Yes, please. Guys, this will be our last question.
Okay.
So my name is Harjit Singh. I'm from Rebo Realty. So I want to ask one question. We know we have a lot of statistics that actually, are very positive when it's come to Dubai real estate. But because of the lot of opportunities are there are some statistics also there based on, people are, switching their money in terms of money laundering and stuff like that. So names, Dubai also come in and under that kind of name also when it's come to the money laundering stuff, or people maybe getting their money, they want to save taxes and also that's something. So I want something clarification on that, because it happens, it's very normal. If there is a lot of opportunity, people will try to do this. But what Dubai or UAE government is actually doing, so that be very important that there are people who have very hard-earned money and they're putting in, and there are other kind of people. So they have earned money in a different way. So what as a government is doing?
Okay, the first thing.
Dr. Can you please repeat the question, how you understood it?
Okay. I think the question you're talking about here is, while we have great statistics and positive results we can talk about, there's also a lot of the buyers who are coming in mainly because they have to launder money or they want to park money safely here. So how would you handle these kind of concerns? Because many buyers are saying the reason Dubai is doing so well is because of these kind of guys coming in and putting the money. Okay, the answer is yes and no. It used to be a lot in the earlier years, but that was when the property market was not a regulated market. Honey will always attract flies. So in a market that was not regulated, there was a lot of this happening. However, it dropped drastically by over 90% when the CIA set up in Abu Dhabi. Okay, they began to actually listen in to all conversations. I mean by digital listening, yeah? Transactions, communications, all of those. You can actually listen into your mobile phones even if you switch it off now. They can still listen into you. So with all of this, it dropped drastically. Then the AML got set up, which was there anyway for the financial institutions, but AML came in, and now AML is being taken to the next level. Because today Dubai wants to get onto the green list when it comes to money. We were on the gray for some time because there were many transactions that were not very transparent. So the European Union put Dubai on the grey list, but now we are getting back into the green. And this happened when now the government made it mandatory that 4 different types of industries now have to come under the scanner, so that we can catch out these people who are trying to clean the money. The first was real estate. Obviously, you know why? Because you can clean a lot of money faster because of high volume items, buying an entire building. You can, so real estate came under the scanner. Now this was made, it was supposed to happen mandatorily about 3 years ago, but because of the COVID, they moved it back by a year. From last year, a lot of it has become mandatory now, okay? The second industry that came under the scanner here was startup companies, free zone companies. Because most people, when they want to do this kind of laundering, they'll first come and set up shell companies. They have to find an entity to which they can eventually transfer the white. So now, for the last 2 years, even if you want to go and renew your trade licenses, you have to fill out a declaration form. So they made sure now that any company registered in a free zone will be vetted also to check the actual authenticity of the business transaction. Second industry. The third was accounting firms. Because what's the first thing you do when you want to clean out money? You hire an accountant, right? Because he's got to work the books for you. So all accounting firms now have to provide information. When they sign up a new client, they have to give a declaration. And the fourth was legal firms. Why? You want a lawyer to protect you, right? So the legal firms, the accounting firms or audit firms, the actual real estate investment opportunity companies, and part of that includes the brokers, by the way. And you had the startup companies. All 4 came under that. Plus, there is a standing instruction from central bank now for I think 5 years, may not be accurate on 5 years, but for a while, where any cash transaction above 55,000 must be notified to central bank. So you could go and buy a car and pay 300,000. Your bank will notify central bank. So any transaction above 55,000 cash will be notified. And developers today are mandating it. They will do the KYC. So even if you don't do it with your client, the developer will do it for you. So it is going to go out even more. Yes, there was a time in the past when Dubai was not so well known. People would not want to put their money. You might have to allow certain things just to get the publicity, make the noise, fund your city. Today we are the number 3 city on the planet. We don't need for people to know us. Everybody knows Dubai. We have got one of the best lifestyle opportunities in the world. Second most stable economy. The most visible city on the planet is Dubai today. Everybody knows us.
Thank you so much for your time, guys. Let's give a round of applause. We highly appreciate your wisdom, your insights, and your advices, and hopefully all of us will implement the knowledge that we heard today, and our sales will increase, and we'll have another successful year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.